So we're carrying on the theme now. This very day, waking up in everyday life, that's it. I'm looking at the 7-point mind train. So we've seen, just a bit of a recap, we've seen an important aspect of this mind training tradition, these teachings, is to turn what we think of as adversity, what we think of as like a bad thing, bad things that happen to us, turn them into actual opportunities for spiritual growth, and development and awareness. And it offers us 3 main ways to do this. So firstly, by compassion, and that's what Paranita was speaking about last week. Secondly, by wisdom, that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. And thirdly, by what are called special practices. I believe we're going to hear about those over the next 2 talks, so yeah, do stick around for the special practices. That's exciting. Yeah, and I want to touch back a bit more in detail on some of the things we've covered as well, because it's really important for tonight's theme. So if you kind of wind back a bit, for those of you who are there, Satyajyoti gave this talk, it's called Base Metal into Gold, I think, but she quoted Hamlet, I believe, if I remember correctly. Hamlet, a Shakespeare play, Hamlet says, "There is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so." And bad here, particularly, doesn't mean like ethically bad, it means kind of like unwelcome, stuff we don't like. There's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And the wisdom here, the vision, is that what makes situations and events adverse, difficult for us, painful, suffering, what really makes it not a good thing for us, it's the stories we tell about what's happening, not the thing that's happening itself. Yeah, so it's the kind of the narrative we have. And by story, I don't just mean a sort of, just like a head narrative, like, oh, it's this and it's that. I mean sort of much deeper, like a kind of deeply held attitudes and beliefs. These like kind of feelings of, no, it's like this, I want it to be like this. We really think things should be a particular way. And we form all these kind of stories and narratives to sort of explain that or kind of reinforce that. And our usual scorecard, you might say, to judge things as good and bad are what we call the 8 worldly wins. So Satyajyoti spoke about this as well. I'm going to get those back up again. This is really important for this discussion of wisdom. And using adversity to train in wisdom, really we're talking about training in wisdom through the 8 worldly winds when we arise. So remember, we have gain and loss, getting stuff, losing stuff, getting people, losing people, fame and infamy, also known as status and loss of status, praise and blame, so kind of people say nice things about us, people say, no, you're bad, you shouldn't have done that. And pleasure and pain, that's self-evident. But it's just, fame and infamy, status, loss of status, that's like, I'm somebody or I'm not somebody. And we heard, I want to say a bit more as well now about that, how if we try and rely on these, if we try and fashion the world to sort of get the good stuff, get the good ones and not get the bad ones, it really doesn't work. So if we try and just maximize pleasure and minimize pain, we kind of create a sort of weak, addictive nature, like an animal-like existence with no higher meaning, just seeking comfort. And trying to avoid pain just often brings more suffering, actually. And chasing pleasure can leave us feeling empty inside. If we try and base our security, our happiness on gain and loss, on getting stuff and not losing it, well, we all know that material wealth doesn't really bring satisfaction, and we're trying to just hold on to things because it has this anxiety quality to it. We don't want to lose what we like. We're desperately trying to hold on to it. Including people, which, as we know, to our own cost, like people we love, and they change, they grow old, they sometimes leave, they sometimes die, and we can't control this. Praise and blame. Well, if we're just ruled by kind of praise and blame, we're just kind of handing ourselves over to the agendas of other people, to kind of what they think. We can't really become autonomous individuals. We get trapped in that kind of shoulds. I should do this and should do that because that's what people are like. We can't really discover who we are and what our individuality. And then finally, fame and infamy, or status, loss of status. this kind of really needing to be somebody to have a sense of worth. So chasing a carrot we can never really get hold of, because what we really need, what we're really running away from is our own lack of contentment, our own inability to just be okay with who we are, to have self-measure for ourselves. So someone who is wise is no longer kind of enslaved by trying to control all this. They're not kind of just like trying to make all this work, to kind of control it, to manipulate it. So the winds, you say, the winds, good images of the wind, like the winds, they still blow, they still affect us, but a wise person doesn't pin all their hopes on things going a particular way. So an image for this, you might say, is like it's like we're trying to build a lot of the time. We're trying to like build a house, like a straw house, to keep the wind out. Kind of, all these winds are blowing. We don't like it. Some of them we do. It's like we don't like it, so we're going to try and protect ourselves. Build this straw house, and then like the big bad wolf, it just comes and blows it right down. Oh no, it's gone everywhere. Or maybe we build a bit of a stronger wall, but then we spend our life just trying to like keep the walls up and trying to worry about when like the gutters start leaking or whatever it is. Really, what kind of bodhisattva does, a wise person does, is become more like a mountain. It's kind of solid mountain, big, raw, can hold a lot. The wind can blast against it, and it can take it. It's not knocked over. So how can we do this? How can we become more like a mountain? How can we become more wise? How can we learn to take the walls down so that we can let life flow? Not fight against the wind, but flow with the wind. Because understanding intellectually is very different from actually putting it into practice. And tonight's talk really, as I said, it's about training in wisdom. So it's about actively, day by day, moment by moment, how can we train to become more wise? So the 7-point mind training text offers us a big reframe in the way that we see the world and life, which has the power and potential to free us from a lot of the dukkha that we create for ourselves by living on, kind of basing our life on these kind of stories on the worldly winds. It's kind of, like I'm saying, thinking that so we create these narratives, these stories about how things are, which cause ourselves suffering. And so the slogan the 7-point mind training gives us, and you have this in your card, in your place, is all dharmas are dreamlike. All dharmas are dreamlike. So firstly, some clarification. Dharma, this word dharma, is different to the Dharma with capital D that we get Buddha, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, one of the 3 jewels. Dharma is one of these words that has like, I don't know if it's got like 30 different meanings or something. I can't remember if that's literally true, but it's got loads and loads of different meanings, which is kind of interesting and really annoying. But little d Dharma, it's a different word, it means a different thing to big D Dharma. It means something more like things, events, phenomena. It's like, stuff, things, phenomena, happenings. I think particularly actually, if we're going to take the wisdom perspective, dharmas really, it means more like events, because there are no substantial fixed things. Everything is always arising, ceasing, happening. I quite like, for some reason, I'm quite enjoying the word happening when I was reflecting on this. So, because you said, you could translate it as all events are dreamlike, all happenings are dreamlike. But dreamlike in what sense? That's the next question. What do we mean by dreamlike? Firstly, importantly, it doesn't mean things don't exist. It doesn't mean everything's just a kind of, like you're all a dream, so you don't exist because you're just in my mind. It doesn't mean that. The dream that we're so seduced by, interesting, I wrote the word seduced, it's interesting. Anyway, the dream I'm going to stick with that. The dream we're so seduced by is that we can rearrange the world to find some kind of unchanging and substantial state of happiness, that we can somehow make this work, make the world we use work for us. and keep it that way. That's the dream. That's the sort of the dream-like, or the dream that we're trying to wake up from. So in reality, everything just flows on. So everything happens, just flows. It can't be grasped, can't be fixed. It slips through our fingers like sand. You know, that thing that was bothering us so much, we're pinning all this, kind of putting all this energy to make better, whatever that might be for us. Before we know it, it's just a memory. It's happened. Where is it? It seemed so important, you know, last week, and where is it now? It's gone, and life's just kind of moves on. Everything's like this. All events, all happenings, they become a memory before we can even sort of really know what they are. We can't hold on to them. They just become memory. So this is the metaphor of the dream. You know, when we wake up from a dream, we realise, oh, hang on a minute. I thought that was real. I was chasing this. I was chasing that. I was trying to make this better and run away from that. And I didn't need to. It wasn't what I thought it was. So this attitude of seeing all kind of phenomena, all events as dreamlike, is to help us, to free us up from clinging so tightly to things and needing things to go our own way. Freeing us up so we can more enjoy the flow of life and are less blown around by these worldly winds. And also so we can take ourselves less seriously. Yeah, so we take ourselves so seriously. Well, I speak for myself, take myself so seriously. Quite a kind of koan for me. I don't know if you all know this word koan. It's kind of like this paradox, a kind of creative paradox question. For me, is like, how can I actually take Buddhism seriously, take what we're doing seriously without taking myself too seriously? Because I've definitely done a lot of, this is serious, this is the deal, you know, I need to do this, yeah. You know, let's get enlightened, yeah, or whatever. But can end up just like creating this big kind of self-important, righteous dude. Yeah, which causes pain, So yeah, that's good. Like not taking ourselves too seriously, taking things that matter seriously, but not taking ourselves too seriously in the process. Also, so yeah, Buddha. Remember Buddha? Remember Buddha? Buddha means one who is awake. So it's a title, one who is awake. Buddhism, we might say, therefore, is waking upism. Waking up from the dream. It's in the very name of Buddhism. But before we explore this slogan further, this practice, and how we might put it into practice, I want to step back a bit and explore a bit more like a question, which is, what is wisdom? You know, what is it? What is wisdom? It's really important that we get a sense of what this practice, this training, is actually trying to open us up to. And I'll say why so briefly. So we've heard a bit about how a wise person doesn't cling to or chase after the worldly winds. So these things are kind of always going to change, always going to illusions. If we're not careful, we might get the idea that what we're being asked to do, what we're being asked to practice, and to become wise means that we give up on pleasure, we stop enjoying stuff. I'm not going to be affected by gain and loss anymore, so I'm just going to give everything away. I don't need anything. I don't care. I don't like anything. Let it all go. Praise and blame. Yeah, I don't care what everyone thinks about me, and I don't really care about anyone anyway. So this is not what it's saying. Becoming this kind of like cold, indifferent person that's sort of where you feel like we have to be free of all these nasty, sticky emotions. And then we hear the slogan that says all phenomena are dreamlike, and think that means that maybe you're like nothing's real. We just need to become aloof to everything because it's all a dream and none of it really matters. Yeah. No, that's not what this is about. Thank goodness. That sounds horrible. Although strangely appealing. I don't know about you as well. It's horribly appealing. That's not what it's about. So, Sangha, who founded our tradition, says some amazing stuff about wisdom. I've just got one sentence from here which I'm going to unpack. He says, wisdom is a sort of relishing of things, a harmony with the world. Wisdom is a sort of relishing of things, a harmony with the world. And he goes on to say that if we overcome craving, however much we do that, so when we cease grasping after things and trying to secure our sense of self in these usual ways, what is left isn't a blank state, it's appreciation. It's appreciation of everything. So, yeah, the absence of craving is not a nothingness. It's a state where we can truly delight in and appreciate life and the life around us, other people, and ourselves. So it said that it's like as if the Bodhisattva, the being who's set on enlightenment for the benefit of all beings, the Bodhisattva sees everything aesthetically, as if life is this great work of art to be sort of savoured and appreciated. They've made a seismic shift from what we might call the appropriative mode, trying to get, and fix things, to the appreciative mode. So rather than this, it's more like, wow, look at this is amazing. Appreciating rather than appropriating. And it's said that this is all a great, the word is lila, which means play. The Bodhisattva plays. The wise person, life is like play. It's like they've seen through the sort of the ways we torment ourselves, running around here and there, getting all serious about ourselves, and released from all that, and then they can go out and play, yay, and really play. I was remembering actually when I first came to the Buddhist Center, one of the things that really struck me was, like, oh wow, there's grown-ups here who haven't given up on playing. Just had this fear when I was younger that, like, I don't want to grow up and get a job. It looks so boring, just all this seriousness and ties, filling in forms, sitting about. No, I wanted to play. Yeah, it was a great relief to me to come here and see people with that kind of twinkle in their eye. Yeah. So yeah, learning to appreciate, learning to see what is beautiful, to appreciate beauty. It's not a luxury, just a luxury pursuit that's reserved for sort of people that have that taste. I think, yeah, learning to really see with an appreciative eye is really crucial to this whole business of becoming wise. And by appreciate, I don't just mean kind of, sort of, oh, give me this and give me that, and isn't it all wonderful and great? I mean something more that's like a kind of, it's like, maybe experience this sometimes, particularly if you go on retreat, this kind of spacious mind that can settle, let go, and open up and just look around and see things as if for the first time. And think, wow, isn't this amazing? It's aesthetic, appreciative eye, which delights in things and relishes in things. Somebody from the Buddhist tradition who I feel exemplifies this is a character called Ryokan. So he's a Buddhist monk, Japanese Buddhist monk from something like the 18th century, I think. Could be wrong, but yeah, from a kind of traditional Japan is still very traditional. He lived as a hermit and wrote loads of amazing poems. And I just wanted to read one of them for you, just to kind of bring out this, in a less conceptual way, what this might be alluding to. I think something as well as about what it might be like to really see, to kind of relate to life in a more like dreamlike way, in a more kind of open, appreciative way. So this is a poem of his, and it's describing his experience one night. He says, "The night is fresh and cool. Staff in hand, I walk through the gate. Wisteria and ivy grow together along the winding mountain path. Birds sing quietly in their nests, and a monkey howls nearby. As I reach a high peak, a village appears in the distance. The old pines are full of poems. I bend down for a drink of pure spring water. There is a gentle breeze, and the round moon hangs overhead. Standing by a deserted building, I pretend to be a crane softly floating among the clouds." So reading his poems, you get a sense of a man who lives so fully and vividly, so alive, But he's not just blissed out all the time. So he's not just sort of locked himself in this kind of pleasure land, which is impossible. He grieves, he feels lonely, he experiences melancholy. At the same time, it's as if through all those ups and downs, this kind of spark of something much more incredible kind of comes through him. So you might think I've strayed a little away from tonight's topic, perhaps. The mind training slogan, all dramas, that's interesting, isn't it? All dramas are dreamlike, that'd be great. All dharmas are dreamlike. But we haven't, no, we haven't. We've not strayed away. I'm hoping that this is coming through. Because, to see all phenomena as dreamlike, part of that experience, it says opening up, is to open us up to wisdom, to allow us to let go deeply, open up to a way of being that's appreciative. That is the wiser state of being. And why I've kind of said this, I think it's so important to if we don't have a vision, if we don't have a sense of where this is all leading, there's always a danger for us in the modern world in the West, which is to fall into an over-intellectualization about what we're trying to do and what wisdom is, and also a kind of nihilism, a kind of like empty nothingness, things are a bit meaningless, nothing really kind of exists. Our culture is kind of infused with this. I think we really need to kind of push back against that with a vision that's really positive and kind of brimming with meaning. It's on that basis, with that sense, holding that in mind, I think we can really wield this slogan, all dharmas are dreamlike, in a very powerful way for the purpose it was meant for, to help us to profoundly let go of our grasping, to wake up to what is beautiful. So seeing the nature of reality, it's not a cold distance to knowing. It's a warm, intimate participating in the aliveness of all things. The Prajnahridaya, some of you may remember Prajnahridaya, some of you may not, he's going to be visiting us in 2 weeks. He's an amazing order member, he's our president. I won't say anything more about that now, but he's going to be giving us a talk in 2 weeks, which I highly recommend you come to. I remember him once saying something, I don't know why he said this. I used to live at Padmaloka, so I used to get his kind of inspired utterances every now and then, at the dinner table and other places. But he said he thinks a characteristic of someone who is wise is that they experience life as being enchanted. Life as enchanted, which I think is quite amazing. How can we put this into practice in relation to difficulty? So coming back to sort of one of the main themes we're exploring during this theme, how can we, if we're suffering for experiencing what we think of as difficulty, how can we put this into practice? How does this all relate? So when things seem, when things seem like quite far away from being, magical and enchanted in this kind of in this way that it's describing, and we're really not feeling appreciative, I just don't want this. This is painful. How can we practice there? So we're going to return now, hopefully now with something a bit a lighter, not the end of the tunnel, but just light, hopefully. We can get back into the grit the experience in our lives. So I used to be a real problem for me having physical pain in meditation. It used to really, really bother me. It would hurt, and I would experience quite strong suffering in that situation. And I want to ask Prajnahridaya, why can it be so unpleasant having this? Because he works with it as well. He has back pain sometimes in meditation, or quite often sometimes. So why is it so unpleasant to experience this physical discomfort in meditation? And he just said to me instantly, lazy labelling. What? No, it's pain. Pain is pain. Tell me how to fix my body so it has less pain. No, he said lazy labelling. He's coming back to again this or reflect this invitation to wonder about the stories we tell ourselves and how that creates suffering. So I remember him saying, he said, if you really pay attention to the direct experience of pain, or in this case, physical pain, this example, you notice that it's not really, the actual sensation is nowhere near as bad as the reaction that you're having to it. The suffering, the majority of the suffering is the layers that are added onto that direct, raw physical experience. So for me, that's things that comes up as things like, when will this end? Am I stuck with this? Is this me for life now? Am I broken? Am I supposed to be young? Why isn't my body working? What's gone wrong? This shouldn't be happening. You know, it's not fair. That guy over there is smiling. He's enjoying his meditation, and I'm not. What's happening? This is stopping me from meditating. I can't make progress. I'll never be able to, grow, gain enlightenment, all that stuff. It's like sort of none of that, no, because I'm just stuck with this pain. It's just a block. So all these ruminations and stories weren't making anything any better, and were actually deluded. I've been able to notice that more and more. Yeah. So in situations like this, we all have our own, and we've been inviting you to reflect a bit about this in the groups. Situations where we're finding painful, but we're noticing there's a kind of narrative, perhaps a bit of a sense of, I don't want this, it shouldn't be happening. Like, why me? Whatever it might be. In those situations, we might reflect that perhaps our suffering is quite to a large extent mind-made by our interpretations of what's happening. What are called second arrows. So I can't remember if we've discussed this in the theme yet, but Buddha has this metaphor that we get hit by an arrow and we can't avoid that. But what we then do is get another arrow, shove it in ourselves, take it out, shove it in again, twist it around. I don't know if he added those bits, but that's how I imagine it anyway. What started off as something that could have just dealt with calmly and coolly becomes suddenly like I'm just bleeding everywhere. I don't want to get into the graphic. But anyway, that's where my mind goes. But we add all this extra suffering through the way we're interpreting, through the kind of these like deeply held beliefs, attitudes about how we think things should be. This shouldn't have been happening to me. I should be getting the pleasure, not the pain. I should be keeping what I want and not losing it. Getting the praise, so on. In those situations, if we can learn to notice those stories, those interpretations in our experience, we can perhaps then say to ourselves, this is dreamlike. I've dreamed this up. All dharmas are dreamlike. Drop that in like a pebble, see what happens. See if it can help release our dreamed up world of suffering that our mind creates. Take us back to the direct experience under those layers. My experience is that working in this way, it's kind of shown me actually how much situations, emotions, experiences have a bodily counterpart. So like anything, when there's a sense of, oh, I don't want this, there's an emotion there, there's a strong emotion there. It's not just we're not just a victim to the pain, we're actually generating an emotion in relation to that as well. And to allow that to release means having to really sink into the body and to get underneath the story. And this slogan is kind of a sense of or wondering, or perhaps, this story isn't true. It can allow us, perhaps it is a dream, perhaps I dreamed it up, perhaps it's not what I think it is. Can give us the faith to perhaps to just relax a bit more into the experience rather than needing to fight against it, to relax into the bodily experience, which in time can allow it to transform and release. So it's as if this slogan, another practice similar to it, provides an image that comes to my mind. It's like almost a kind of this big protective shell, and it's like a kind of just fires a harpoon right through it. It's like break a little hole so we can get inside and kind of start to open things up. In my experience with my kind of example of physical pain, I've really found mind and body, they're not so separate, they're very, very interrelated. The more I've been able to relax the stories, to not see them as so real and substantial as I thought, the more I've been able to relax, that's allowed me to relax more into the body, which has then allowed the stories to release even more because it's confirmed a sort of unreality, and as tension is released, as the mind releases, the body tension releases as well. It's very interesting. But it's very much work in progress. So yeah, the secondary realities we create with these narratives, these stories, Buddhism has a word for it called prapancha. Prapancha, which means something like mental proliferation. It's like our mind just goes, yes, this person, like this person did this to me, and that means they think this, or they don't like me, then do they? Oh, so I should go and apologise, but then I don't want to. We kind of create this whole kind of secondary reality based on all these assumptions. That's called prapancha. It's like our mind proliferates. It's this whole kind of architecture of secondary reality that's not based on anything true. That's the dream we need to wake up from. These are the dreams we need to wake up from. Furthermore, sort of like irritate other people are a big working ground here. Like irritation we feel towards people. They can often be the largest source of our reactions. That's such a fertile ground for practice here. Really noticing our response. Can we really allow ourselves to entertain the possibility that we might not be right? It might not be quite what it seems. Perhaps our interpretation for the situation is a bit of a dream. I know for me speaking a bit more personally, I was thinking about where am I really working? What's my working ground in this area? I mentioned sort of something more from the past. For me, I think it's often finding myself in sometimes quite kind of dark states of mind, dark moods. Don't know why it's there, and immediately I'm like, this shouldn't be happening. I'm a Buddhist. I've been practicing for ages. Surely I'm not supposed to feel like this anymore. What happened? What's gone wrong? What do I need to do? How do I fix it? Blah 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 blah. Getting into a bit of a panic and a bit of a fear of the loss of identity as well. Like, oh gosh, am I supposed to feel happy and bubbly by now all the time? What's happened? All that layers of interpretation. That's it's just that. It's just interpretation. It's not true. The training in wisdom is like training in unclenching our fist. So this sort of I love this image. It's like actually unclenching the fist. In our meditation in particular, we can try dropping this slogan like a pebble. Well, in meditation and outside actually, particularly during painful experiences, but even during pleasant ones, dropping in this slogan like a pebble, this perspective, and see if it can help us to open our hands just a little bit more to see some grasping, realizing we can't grasp things because they're like dreams or things or happenings. They come and they go, and then they're memories. So just let go. Let life flow more naturally. So to conclude, to summarize, looked at, it's like two perspectives here, you might say, sort of in how we might reflect on this slogan, how we might wield this slogan to develop wisdom. Learning to see life as more enchanted, dream in the positive sense. Obviously life was a dream. Around and about, see if we can just sort of look at the trees, look at the leaves shimmering and see if we can just sort of drop the story that we think we even know what's going on, and we know what that is, and it's like, wow, isn't that amazing? But perhaps, but particularly the sort of the way we can really wield the power of the slogan is to sort of working with our own reactions, our own sort of negative reactions, our own stories, the second arrows that we cause ourselves suffering with. And if we could really see the dreamlike nature of all phenomena, really sort of open up to its vision, to develop wisdom, so far from leading to a sort of, apathy towards others, which we might do if we take this dreamlike thing a bit too literally, like, oh, it's all dreams, it's all made up. Far from leading to that, it's actually the unlocking of our boundless heart of love and compassion and metta for others and for life. This loving heart, that's our true nature, but it's blocked by all these walls and barriers. That's what we're trying to open that up, and that can allow a great loving heart to emerge. Because this appreciative mode I've talked about, the appreciative mode is also the love mode. You may have heard about that before. Sangha actually is teaching about the love mode. It's they're part and parcel of the same thing. And we see with the eyes of metta, we see things as beautiful. And seeing things as beautiful can allow us to really love. And what holds us back from really being fully enabled to reach out and connect with others is our own delusion. We believe things are solid, knowable, and graspable. And we believe ourselves, we are solid, knowable, and graspable. We believe we can find security in the worldly winds. We believe we can somehow control the outside world, somehow control the inside world even. We can do that meditation, can't we? Actually control it all, so that we won't experience pain and won't experience pleasure. But if we could see deeply, really deeply with our heart and our bones, so this takes time. This is why it's a training, it's a lifetime's work. But we can really see deeply with our heart and bones that all sort of happenings are dreamlike. Which includes all of our ideas about who we think we are. Who are we? What are we? If we could really see that these things as dreams, then we can truly and deeply let go. Open up to the wonder of life, as well as open up to the darker aspects of life, the suffering and the pain that's out there, to see that with this wise, open, loving eye, to see it includes that as well. And then perhaps it says, that the realized masters down the ages, when at the moment of awakening, they just burst out laughing because they realized, gosh, I was so worried, I was so anxious, I was chasing this, running away from that, and none of it meant it was all just made up. It was all a dream. It was never a thing. It was never a problem. And I thought it was, and it caused myself all that suffering. How silly! And perhaps we could then, one day join in with that laughter. And he said then the culmination of all this is wandering out into the world, into the marketplace, as it's traditionally referred to, with bliss bestowing hands.